Welcome to the 92nd session of the Darkening of Mirkwood. I am your lore master, Richard, but you all know that. When last we left our heroes, after a close fight with the Draugr, the party burned its body along with the remnants of the Morwind's library and headed down the secret stair. After a long time in the darkness, they finally reached the prison pits of the Minas Morwen. There, they freed Kona, a dwarven woman who seemed to take an immediate shine to Nar, or King Nar as he has begun to think of himself. They also freed Tudila, a young Easterling man who fell afoul of the Morwind's regime. Liberating both of these and sneaking their way through a series of traps and close shaves with the orc and wolf population of the dungeon, the party found what they believed to be a way out. A narrow shelf cut into the rock above a subterranean stream. After nearly losing Lady Asford in the stream, the party managed at last to get to the other side of the shelf, where they scaled a short wall that led up onto a high and dark plateau of stone, overlooking an endless abyss. As they crept along through the darkness, they were suddenly struck by a horrifying stench, while overhead, huge iridescent eggs or pupae hung from the cathedral ceiling of the chamber. That was when the party encountered the body of Noi the dwarf, lying poisoned upon the ground, his body swelling into a mass of pus-filled bubae. Just then, the party heard a humming in the roof somewhere high above them. And as Noe the dwarf reaches out a boil-covered hand to you, Angi, he says, "Please, kill me." And that is when the shadow, a blur of black and yellow, the size of, well, at least the size of you, Angi, but possibly larger, drops from the ceiling and attacks. It attacks you, Angi. I said it attacks you.
Well then.
Angi,
What is this?
you take 10 points of damage as this creature drops from the ceiling. By the flickering light of your torches, you can just make out a blur of what appears to be a long black thorax, segmented body, striped with bright stripes of poisonous yellow, and it slams you into the floor of the cavern, Angi, its stinger nearly piercing your mail, as it buzzes up again, preparing for a second strike. Stances, everybody.
Give us a little more endurance. Ungi is now, after that 10 points, he's now weary. Because it's equal to his total fatigue.
Yep. All right. I will need stances, everybody. Are you all fighting the forward stance?
Yes.
All right.
I am.
Adjust mine.
Where do you want to be?
I keep forgetting I'm not Idas with a bow anymore. Okay.
You're not. Great spirit does an axe.
Yeah, my spear's better. Forward, right? I think that's probably this.
Okay. I'm pulling up our called shot cheat sheet.
Cold shot sheet. I never did get a chance to look at all the cold shots.
That would have been a good thing to do. All right, top of the round. Noe, you're up. Up in the air above you.
Nor.
Sorry,
Noe's down.
Nar.
Okay.
Yeah, Noe is down. Nar, up in the air above you, this huge, it's hard to tell, it almost like a hornet, but way too large, is buzzing high above you, and you can still see like little bits of the chrysalis it had emerged from, flecked, like clinging to bits of its thorax and wings. And the chrysalis itself has almost this dirty, oily iridescence to it that seems to have been carried on over to the sheen of the creature's wings. What are you doing?
I'm going to swing at it because I
Okay.
don't like great big bugs.
Because it is up in the air, and because you are a tiny, tiny dwarf, it is going to be at a the difficulty is going to be at a +4. So you need to basically make your attack roll with a -4.
Okay.
Because you've really got to like
Yes.
jump up at it or kind of time your stroke for it to come down, because it's currently in the air.
Hold on.
So you click your token,
Alright.
and then you click your
Great axe.
yep, click your great axe, click
In -4.
yeah,
on the modifier?
-4.
Let's see. Ooh.
All right, that
Well,
just
is
hits.
a
That
oh, that does just hit.
yeah, because the
Okay.
-4 is already calculated in there, so you would have rolled a 14, but instead you got a minus. But with the -4, it's a 10.
Okay.
All right, that
Okay.
just hits, so you do 9 points of damage. All right.
Yes.
Well, that is, you would have done 9 points of damage, but as you bring the axe whistling through the air at this thing, it suddenly darts back out of the way and then darts in again to try to attack you.
What?
Yeah, no, you can do it every round.
All right. That.
Question.
Yep.
Hey, I got a question.
If Warsong is trying to get the other people to move on past while they're fighting, like while
I wondered about that.
we're fighting, do I have to be in a specific stance
No.
to do that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So I don't do 9 points of damage.
So you swing and you miss. Let's see. It's gonna be Berard. Not Berard. Borlad. There we go. Borlad is up. He is going to actually no. Borlad's going to be an open stance. So let's see. That was no. That was Nar. So Warsong, you're up. What are you doing?
The other people to go, like, through, like the ones who aren't fighting,
Okay.
the ones who've been rescued.
All right.
And she's going to kind of be moving with them.
All right. And
Right.
Asford is unconscious still.
She's unconscious?
She
She
is
woke up?
unconscious. No.
No, she woke up.
Her fever
Yeah,
broke.
She woke up. We talked to her.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, when she fell into water, she woke up.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
So she was able to climb up that tall thing herself. Like, we helped her, but she's
Right,
awake
okay,
and walking
right.
herself.
All right.
So, and I'm going to try to intimidate the wasp thing.
All right. Give me. It's gonna be TN14.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna roll.
What
I
is-
can do awe or battle.
is-
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. You, I guess, beat your axe against your shield, or what?
She's going to shake her axe at it
Okay.
and like kind of run at it a little bit,
Okay.
and then back like.
It, as you do so, it kind of darts back out of your reach. All right, Rani, you're up. Or Angi. Angi and Rani, you're both up.
Rennie is out taking care of small munchkins.
Angi, you're up.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to challenge.
So now, Richard,
Yes.
if I get this correct, it loses 2 points of hate
That's correct.
on that roll.
Mhm.
Okay. I assume that's what it used the dodge.
Yeah, it has a snake-like speed ability that makes it able to.
Just like the Easterlings.
Yep.
I think because it was a great success, it's actually more than that, right? Didn't you say that the mat is incorrect?
Yeah, I think the mat is low by 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Oh, so it's
three.
actually 3. Nice.
All right. I am going to use the challenge foe ability
Okay.
since there's just one of him, and I am weary, so I'm going to need that extra advantage if I can. Ongi shoulders his shield and points his long-hatted axe up at the buzzing thing, and calls out to it in some dwarvish war cry. All right, and so now I'm going to swing at it.
Roll to hit. It's going to be at a -4 because of your height.
Yes. Well,
That still hits.
but I'm gonna re-roll that d12 to see if I
Okay.
can get if I can Gandalf it.
Okay.
And I did.
Apparently you can.
That's my edge.
All right. Injury rating 18. Okay. So, Angi, as this thing zooms back down towards you for a second attack, you kind of take a flying leap through the air, and as it was coming down towards you, you kind of take a flying leap through the air and meet it head on, and with a huge swing of your axe, you cut through this thing's still fairly soft thorax like butter. And there is a spray of black and purple, basically bug guts, all over the ground beneath you, kind of spattering your companions as you land with a crunch and a grunt. And the two halves of this enormous hornet just land on the ground.
Well,
Well,
is how we do
seeing
it.
that Angie has just cut this thing in half, I suggest that we should get out of here
Run, but
very
quietly.
quickly.
Angi is going to kick the halves down into the abyss.
All
I'm
right.
gonna help him.
Just
You'll
had
kick
to
one half, I'll kick the other
just
half.
had to get that in there.
Just shove it,
Yes.
put it through my shield and sort of push it, the half of it out of the way, and then below.
I'll take.
Anyone gonna pick up the dying dwarf?
Rani probably could. I think she can carry him.
Okay.
Elstan kind of looks on this creature as you are kicking it into the abyss, and he says, "Have any of you ever seen anything like that?"
No.
No. Let's
No.
not talk about it. Give it.
No.
I do wonder, though, possibly, if it's like much smaller wasp of this nature, do you suppose it has an entire hive and we should be running?
Yes.
That's
I
an,
think we're
that's
fine.
an interesting point.
Yes. Let's get out of here.
All right, so you guys running.
I think we roll Noe onto his shield, and we can carry him between Rani and Angi.
Okay.
Would you say you are going quickly or you're going quietly?
Quietly.
What is up ahead of us? What can
We don't
see?
know. Hey, that's a good question, though.
Like, is
So
there cover?
what you see is about the only cover that's really afforded here is the shelf that you're on basically drops off to your left into the abyss. But it's about 20 feet wide at the widest point, maybe a little more. And there are a few stalagmites, but there's not like anything in terms of cover from something above you. But what you can see is that at the far end, probably about 40 or 50 feet down towards the far end of the chamber, you see what appears to be a small man-made opening.
Oh,
Well, we
What
shall
is
head
there
to that
light?
small man-made opening.
Is there light coming out of the small man-made opening?
There is not. You can just barely see. In fact, it's not even immediately apparent that it's man-made until you get a little closer, but it just catches the light of your torches.
Okay. So another door to check for traps if we get there.
Yeah, let's move as, I guess, quietly as possible in hopes of not no other wasps noticing us.
Okay.
All right. Give me stealth rolls, everyone.
hey! Okay.
Uh-oh.
No.
All right. So even. We're even.
And what's our hunt at?
You're at 10 of 12.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, it's so not cool. Okay, ready. You're stealthing it up because you are the stealthiest. I guess Warson can cover for you.
Yep. So far we're even.
Yes.
What's our TN for that one? That's 14, right?
No.
That Rennie is not very stealthy.
I guess we could always run.
But let's see here. And yay!
All right. We need one more great success. And I mean, like everybody needs. And
That's
everything
that's all of
needs-
us. So I guess we have Borlad and
Yeah.
Elston.
Orla and Elston.
No.
Man.
That was Borlad.
Well, if he spends a point of
Or
hope,
sorry,
that can be a great
that was
success.
Elstan, rather. And then Borlad. Okay.
Well,
All right.
Oh, can't.
So you make yourselves, you make your way as quietly as you possibly can across the shelf in the dark, trying not to fall off into the abyss to your left. And a couple of times, your shield or an axe haft scrapes against one of these stalagmites that you couldn't see in the dark. At one point, Nar stubs his toe and just begins swearing in Dwarven without really thinking about it, and you have to clamp your hand over his mouth. And as you do, you look up above you, and you see several of the chrysalises seem to be slowly waving back and forth in a breeze you cannot feel. But you notice that another one of them is in tatters.
How far are we from this exit?
Probably
Suppose the
about
exit-
20 feet. And that is when you hear the humming as another dark shape somewhere in the roof above you descends.
Nice. Nice.
It attacks Angi again.
I was gonna say I roll Noe off my shield and
Well, it's coming for you again. I swear I'm rolling randomly for these.
it's alright, it's okay. Son of a
Angi, you're going to take 10 points of damage, and he is going to go ahead and spend a point of hate to grab you.
Okay.
You take another you take another 4 points of, or sorry, another. That shouldn't be 14 damage. That's wrong. Uh, you take another 4 points of damage, so you took 10 damage for the first attack as the stinger slams into you, pinning you to the ground. And as you do so, these huge insectoid limbs, 4 of them, just wrap around your body and begin crushing you as they hoist you back towards the ceiling. You take another 4 points of damage, and I'm going to need an armor test from you.
Okay. Down to 4 endurance, guys. If you got any tricks, that'd be the time. All right.
And the rest of you are about 20 feet away from the exit. Your dwarven wrought armor holds for the moment. It is Noe, Warsong, Ranny, you're all up.
All right. Well, I'm gonna swing my axe because that's about all I can do.
All right, it's going to be at a -4.
Alrighty. Whoops. Whoops. Not a -40.
You swing through the air, but miss it completely. Ranny and Narvi, what do you do? What are y'all doing?
We have fellowship pool now, right? It's refreshed.
I think it refreshed last session, so no.
Yeah, it did refresh last session.
I mean,
I'm
you
not
should. You
sure.
probably have some, but it
I
didn't
have
refresh
3
this.
left on my feet.
Because you could hit that and be a great success. If you spend some fellowship pool. I have 5, but I think.
What is weapons under body?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she has 3, so we have 3 left. I say if it gives him
Oh.
a great success, he should go for it.
I have 9 in favored.
Yeah.
All right.
So
That-
Hit it.
okay.
That very handily hits for 15 points of damage. As this thing flies upwards with Ongi, you lash out at it with your axe, mostly just in reaction because you didn't really have any time to prepare as this thing dropped down on you. And as you do, you don't actually see the axe connect, but you feel it connect something kind of solid, and you hear a buzzing sound intensifies as something cold and wet kind of seeps down on the axe from the axe haft onto your hand. Ronnie,
So
what are you
he
doing?
Takes 15.
He did take
Does
15.
he let go of Ongi at this point?
He does not. Ronnie and Ongi, you're up.
I'm going to stab it with my spear.
All right, give me a stat. It's going to be at a -2, because you're not quite as short as the dwarves, and you have an enormous spear. So
Yeah, and your edge,
all right,
my girl.
let's see here. So you've thrust your spear up in the air, but as you do, it just kind of darts very rapidly to one side. It briefly runs through your mind that it should be scientifically impossible for this thing to fly, but you don't really know what that means. Angi, you're up.
All right, I am holding I'm assuming I'm like in its arms. I'm holding my axe.
Yep.
I'm going to I'm in close combat. I'm engaged. I'm going to do a 2-weapon attack. Wait, no, you know what? I'm going to do the challenge adversary.
Yeah.
All right.
Sort of wrapped in its arms, and we're really close.
Technically, he shouldn't be able to swift speed out of that.
Right, I'm going to get some. Sweet. There you go. I yell, "Kazad! Kazad!" as I swing my axe into its side while being carried aloft. right.
Towards the drop off, I might add.
Oh, good. Well, then this should go well.
Any negatives?
No. You are definitely in close quarters with this thing.
Oh,
You
nice.
monster.
Dang it, Ben. Dang. Dice are just on fire tonight. All right. Well, there's not much I can do to buy that one off. Let's see here. What has he got? Snake like speed, savage assault. I mean, for a weary dude, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He is going to make an armor test. You got this.
But there shouldn't be much left of him. He's
You-
already got 15 points of
You
damage.
got this. Ha ha!
Darn it.
All right, so he just takes a crap ton of damage.
Take 13 points of damage.
Yeah, which kills him anyway. So, so you shouting out, Kazan, Kazan, you, and suddenly, the buzzing, and the body begins plummeting downward. I'm gonna need a protection test from you.
Can I make my move first? Because I was gonna sing.
It is. This happens in order of stance, unfortunately. So
Well-
I'm gonna need a protection test from
It's
you.
not like I'm going to be more miserable if I spend some hope, so.
That is true.
Alright, where's my armor? But yes!
So the good news is you do not break your neck in your fall. The bad news is you land with a pretty hard thump and take 6 points of endurance loss.
Down.
So you are unconscious.
How much?
So you hear Angi yelling as this thing begins to buzz towards the darkness of the abyss. Kazad, Kazad, Kazad! And you hear the buzzing kind of putter out and then cease, and suddenly the body of this thing comes crashing onto the ground, about 5 feet from the ledge, Narvi beneath it.
Ongi!
Angi, I'm so sorry. But why not Zoidberg?
Can't really make too much of a fuss.
What are y'all
So
doing?
Is Ongi unconscious at this point?
He is.
Good fellas, get out of here,
Okay.
guys.
Warsong's
Who's
gonna
good at healing?
Warsong's gonna hurry over to him.
In
and
the meantime,
try
I'm
to-
helping everybody else get to the
Okay.
opening.
and try to heal him.
He's not wounded. So he's just exhausted, basically.
Right.
Is there anything that I can do to help him?
Uh,
regain?
Resting for about a half hour.
Right,
Yeah,
so
let's
get
not
us
do
out of
that.
here. Let's go.
This is
Alright.
not the place to be resting for.
Okay, so just to be clear, there are 2 individuals being carried.
No, only him.
There's Noe.
How's not knowing?
That's right.
Noi.
Warsong's going to get Ongi.
Okay.
I should be able to get Noi.
All right.
I'm like literally not carrying anything.
That's true. All right. You pick up your 2 fallen dwarven companions and rush as best you can towards the entrance, stealing one last glance over your shoulder towards the faintly trembling chrysalis hanging from the ceiling. The tunnel stretches on ahead of you. It's very narrow. The tallest among you, so maybe Rani and Warsong and certainly Borlad, have to stoop to pass through. It's about 5, maybe 5.5 feet high. Very smooth worked stone. And it leads about 50 feet before it begins to slope gently upwards. And very abruptly, your feet find the first step of a stone stair.
Oh, nice.
The stair is
Traps?
very steep. Are you checking for traps?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
check for traps.
Since you are carrying
As that is
someone while
a
you're doing
swish.
this, you will be considered weary.
He's not going to check for traps while carrying someone because he's going to hand Noe off to somebody who's not Warsong.
Okay.
Or, I mean, I could just put him down, check for traps, and then pick him back up. Would that not be the smart thing to do?
No, just hand him off to somebody else who's not super good at checking for traps.
Okay, well, I'll hand him. Alright, so who's carrying Noi now?
Ranny is.
Okay, whoops. TN14.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
And then, ooh, I miss.
It seems clear.
Yeah.
The hunt is now 11 of 12.
Is anybody else good at search, or is that just me?
Ongi's pretty good at search.
Yeah.
Ongi's asleep right now.
You'll let us know
If I
when a
had
half
one
hour
more
elapses.
It's got to be a half hour of rest.
Yeah, not like half-hour dragon.
Well, he's being carried in a woman's arm.
When you stop to catch your breath for 30 minutes, let me know.
Alright, guys, I don't see any traps.
So dead.
And now it's probably not the time to rest.
No, but you could also, I mean, someone else could also search for traps.
Elstad looks back over his shoulder and knocks an arrow to his string. He says, "You don't think those things could get in here, do you?"
I don't see why they couldn't. Let's go.
All right, well, it's either out or in. What are we doing?
Yep.
Don't look at me.
I mean, obviously we're going out.
Let's go up.
Ongi
Alright.
flops over to one side. Soft top, buttercup.
The stairs. The first one you put your foot on is solid enough, smooth, cold stone. Some kind of a black granite. The second one seems fine. But
This is
Nar,
not good.
as you step onto the third stair, you find it's a
Uh-oh.
perfectly normal step. The stairs are not trapped.
Okay.
Um,
Do that.
And as you make it to the door at the top, are you trying the door?
We're
Yes, I'm trying the door.
the door for
I am.
traps.
Yes, I'm checking the door for traps.
Just keep in
Oh,
mind,
my-
one more eye.
I know, but keep in mind all the other traps that
Yes.
all the other doors have had.
That's fair.
Yes, yes, and okay, I'm spending a point of hope on this. So,
It seems safe.
that's a success.
Something that seems particularly noteworthy about this door to you is there's kind of like a latch on the inside, but just being a dwarf and knowing how stone doors are wrought, you have a feeling this is sort of door can only be opened one direction.
This is an emergency escape. This is not an entrance. So once we go out, there's no come back.
Yep.
Okay.
Personally,
I did
I'm
spend a
fine
point of
with
hope
that.
I did spend a point of hope to make this a success.
Okay.
So,
You push the door open. And as you do, the howling winds of the waste greet you.
Where are we at?
Naru, when you step out, it's late evening. You don't know how long you were in the tower.
Yeah.
But glancing back over your shoulder, you find yourself on the other side of one of the slag heaps, about 300 yards from the moat.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we need to see where our horses are.
Right.
All right.
Okay, hold on.
This is the first time
Where are
Nara's
we
been
at
here in
on-
like 3 years, by the way.
First time what?
This is the first time Nara's been out of that place in like 3 years.
That is
Yeah.
true, Nar. You haven't seen the outside of the Minas Morwen in a long time. And things don't appear to have gotten better
No.
since you were last out.
Where are we at on the map? Just so I know.
Yeah, switch you guys back over to the travel map here. You are... You're right, Ben?
Yes, I'm just giving my wife a pep talk.
So if you look at the map, PJ, you're right around the W on the waist.
Oh, okay. So how far would that put us from Dale?
Really far.
Coming by the way. Oh, that's right. You weren't the ones you weren't part of the group that came. So, because you joined halfway in the middle of these shenanigans. If you headed straight south, a journey of about 10, 20, 30 miles would put you into the upper marches of the Dale lands, which would be down here.
It's a bunch of days of travel, and the only way we got there in decent condition was because we had horses to ride, which meant fewer travel rolls.
From here, so it'd be about 30 miles south, and then about 80 miles west would lead you back to Dale.
Okay. I assume that's where we're heading?
Well, we gotta
Or
get our horses.
Are we heading now?
first. But yeah,
Okay.
At this point, Elstan looks back over his shoulder and he says, I've heard stories of men walking into such enchanted places and coming out years later. Do you think we will see our homes again?
I don't know. I intend to.
Well, I trust a chin to get out of this place right now and to head somewhere safe.
All right, so the
I
good
am
news
tired of
is
looking at this place.
your horses are where you left them. They seem quite thirsty and hungry, but they are where you left them. The bad news is you left Dale with 4 mounts. What's that?
Say what?
Ben's computer just crashed.
Oh
and
no.
it turned back on. That's why they're froze.
Oh no, it like crashed.
Hard crash does that from time to time since we moved, coming back on now.
Okay. Sounds like I'm not the only one in need of a new computer.
Yeah, well, desktop computers do not handle being moved very well, in my experience.
Oh. Well, my computer can't handle anything. Well, audio well now, as a matter of fact. Okay, I will be
Alright.
right back.
Yeah, no worries.
Are we all back?
We're still waiting on Ben. Um,
Oh, okay.
so in the
I
meantime,
was catching up the blog. I'm gonna get.
yeah, no worries. It's a good time for a bio break. Some of you may need a pee after all that.
Oh, Enya.
Sometimes
Loud.
the suspense.
Enya is loud if you want to go turn
Sometimes-
that down.
Sometimes the suspense on here is beyond belief.
We're back.
Welcome back. Sophie's just making a quick stop. Everyone's dead
Welcome
in
back,
your
man.
absence.
Did we get our horses?
You did get your horses.
Are they been eaten by horrible creatures?
No, the horses were where you left them. They're rather thirsty and hungry when you find them, but other than that, they seem unharmed. However, the biggest problem is that you came here on 6 horses, and you have picked up 3 additional persons.
Yeah.
6 mounts, not 6 horses.
I have.
Can we?
And how many
double
of
up
us is
on
there
any of
now?
them?
What's that? You can, but you're not going to get the same travel benefit as you would.
Right.
Yeah, which is what I'm hinting
But
at.
it would still help, right?
It'll help a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like our only option unless we want to split the party or have the horses walk as slow as the people who are not riding them.
I mean, I will take any benefit as of right now.
I
If
think,
it's
I
just
think
a
we'll
little.
double up at least for the first little bit. and get as much distance as we can.
Well, and I mean, so most of us that you picked up don't weigh anything hardly. So
Well, yeah.
So, in addition to the 6 of you who came out this way, you have Berthagund, Kona, Tudila, and Asfred. Is that right? So
Plus Noe.
plus Noe, right? Okay, so that's actually,
in me,
gosh darn it. There's 11 of you, 12 of you.
Yeah, like I said, small army.
It's super.
All right, so I have Warsong, Ongi, Nar, Rani, Asfred, Tudila, Borlad, Elstan, and who was I forgetting?
Did you count Noe?
I didn't. That's who I was forgetting. All right, so there's 11. Right, so you've got 6 mounts and 11 passengers. That's gonna even doubling up. That's gonna slow you down considerably.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Well, I say we put the really hurting people on the horses, and the rest of us can walk.
Speaking of which, you're unconscious.
what about the?
Should we
Close your eyes.
should we do that right off? Let's double up right off to put as much distance as we can, and then the stronger ones can walk and the weaker ones can ride.
After the horses are half dead.
You know. We won't ride them hard. I'm not saying we gallop.
All right.
Uh,
Are
I
you?
assume those 11. I assume those 11 include the ones we rescued in the pits.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's actually 12. Every horse has 2.
Okay.
Can
All
someone
right.
sing a song to strengthen these horses? Does it work like that?
Doesn't quite work like that.
I feel like if there were elves, they might be able to actually do something like that, though. In real, I mean, none of us are
Yeah,
elves.
it would raise the hunt.
That is true. A magical ability like that would raise the hunt, and you're 1 away. So,
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that would. I did not know that would raise the hunt.
certain like showy magical abilities raise the hunt. All right.
Oh,
So
okay.
you mount up into the saddle. Are you guys resting 30 minutes so Angi can be conscious?
You should feed the horses and water them before you just ride off.
So you
Can we water them? Do we have water?
Yeah, you've got water skins. And it only took
Okay.
you a couple of days to come north because you were mounted.
Okay. So we're gonna water the horses, but I don't really want to wait 30 minutes right outside Menace Morwin, right after we've got.
Can we see?
Astrid.
Can we see the top of the tower still burning?
You don't see any fire whatsoever.
Yeah, and if I'm just gonna
Is that
be,
just because I'm asleep?
Yes,
Do I see fire?
you do not.
Inside the
Oh,
mountain.
okay.
if you're just gonna be
Let's at least get a couple of hours away so that we're not right outside the gate.
Okay, so drape your.
So you're just going to throw Angi over the horse and ride off.
Yep.
All
along
right.
with Noe and all of the
Very
other
good.
weak people. Yep.
You begin making your way southward with tired mounts, heavy hearts. Lady Asfred is drifting in and out of consciousness as you go. She seems extremely exhausted. Almost more exhausted than she seemed in the cave. Maybe it was just coming out of the water that woke her up. I've described the waste pretty extensively in the past. It's howling winds, choking wasteland. Here, of course, as you travel, you've got the teeth of the dragon, which are this huge range of enormous slag heaps of volcanic rock and ash that have been vomited up from the earth, whether because of the desolation of the dragon or something else you don't know. So the wind whips between them, and as it blows the dust up and in your face. The individual grains of dust cut your face like tiny needles as you attempt to shield your face. This range of slag mounds offering surprisingly little protection from the cheerless wind. But eventually, you do get about 30 minutes out or so, maybe an hour or two out, depending on how long you want to go. Oddly enough, no matter how far in those first couple of hours you go from the Minas Morwen, every time you look back over your shoulder, it still looms there, just as large as before. It's not until it was already pretty close to dark. It's not until nightfall that you finally lose sight of the tower. So this time, Angi, you can go ahead and recover your basic heart rating of endurance. And any of you who have injuries can also recover your basic heart rating of endurance.
Well, I have yet to lose anything through this whole adventure.
Right?
All I've gained is shadow.
Elstan, Borlad quietly tends to the horses, silent as is his wont. But Elstan sits down next to you, Warsong and Ranny. And he says, well, I'm not sure what I was expecting, but that wasn't it.
Yes.
Was it, you've got more experience with these sorts of things. Was it, are we clear?
Unclear?
No, are we clear? Are we,
I don't know. I won't feel comfortable until we have, especially these people that we've brought out back to civilization. I expect it to be followed.
that's what I mean. It almost seemed like we were being let go.
Right.
Every time I've looked back at that tower, I feel eyes watching me. The weight against the back of my head.
They know we left. And if they haven't followed, there's got to be a reason. We made too much noise while we were there for them to not know that we are gone.
Yes. Well, he looks at you, Ranny. I suppose no one's perfect. Angi, Nar, Kona, at this point is kind of making herself free with your provisions, catching up for lost time, as it were, which you might be doing as well, Nar.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
And she
Can we-
says,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
She says, Nar, remind me again, what was the piece of treasure that you picked up? Was it a necklace?
Yes. I picked up a green crystal necklace.
She says to you, "Oh, thou, that's a very fine necklace you've got there. What exactly do you think you'll be doing with it?"
Well, does my character know it's estimated for at
Oh
100
yeah, as a
pieces?
dwarf, you're very good at estimating the market value of a piece of jewelry just at a glance.
Okay. Well, this would make a nice sale for, I'm thinking of probably about 100 gold pieces.
Hey, you could do some damage with that kind of money. You could set yourself up in a good way. Maybe open a smithy in Lake Town. I might be looking for a partner.
So now if I remember correctly, I could basically with that much money, with as much money that's in that necklace right now, I could basically become king. Correct?
You could raise your standing to such a high level that when you spoke, people would have to listen to what you said.
Okay.
You'd have
That's
to
nice.
rally support first to get it that high.
Rally.
Right. It would take you a couple of fellowship phases, but if you did things in the right order, you could raise your fellowship. You could raise your standing super high.
Okay. Well, I want to aim for that. I also want to aim to get me new armor.
You know, I am a renowned craftsperson. I'm a renowned craft. Boy, I'm a renowned smith of considerable reputation. I was like craftsperson, craftsdwarf, craftswoman. Like, what would she say? Smith, obviously.
That was all in character.
That was all in character. I'm. She doesn't want to let on that she's a. She doesn't want to let on that she's a lady dwarf. To the rest of you, I was a smith in Lake Town of some reputation, and well, if you'd like to come over sometime, and I could take your measurements, I'd be quite happy to make you a hauberk.
Well, I would not trust anyone else except a dwarf.
Good lad.
Craft armor for me. So I will make sure to come by and let you take measurements.
Angi, what are you? Angi, what are you doing?
Augie is. No, you've got to wake up. I'm out loud now. I'm loud over here. Because those two dwarves are practically making out behind the pillars, if you know what I mean. Come on, mate.
Nar looks over, leans over to Angie and says, "Don't worry, Angie. Our next adventure, we'll find you a lady for yourself."
I'm quite all right in that department. I believe I can handle it myself.
So, is Noe awake now, or is he still just writhing in?
Noe is in really bad shape. Apparently, like you can still see the place where the stinger entered his side, and the poison of this thing seems to be extremely virulent.
Can I try healing him?
Give me a healing test.
Okay. Does Leechcraft count?
Yes, but in this case, you're still going to need to make the roll.
Stink.
Oh no.
Well, we're being hunted now.
I don't think Noe's long for this world either.
Warsong, you're not sure Noe's going to make the night. He's in really bad shape. As the stars kind of twinkle dimly overhead, most of them obscured by the dust that clings to the air here in the waste. At some point in the night, Noe calls you to his side, Angi and Nar. And he says, Promise me you'll get that witch. Promise me you'll make her suffer as much as she has made us suffer. Promise me that when the time comes, you will reclaim the halls of my fathers.
Angi grips his hand. Says, Noe, you old bastard. you, you stupid git. Running on ahead like you did. I will make that witch suffer. For you, and for me, and for Noah. And I will retake their halls, your father. And I will not let them bury you, send you back to the stone here in the wastes.
We will not rest until that witch has tasted the axe of a dwarf.
If you see Frar again, tell him I will wait for him in the house of Mahal.
He said Frar again?
Mm-hmm. And
that I will. And don't worry, Noe. When word gets back, I'll tell how you went ahead. On your lonesome. Just you and your ox. I will.
I loosened him up a bit for you.
That's right, mate. Cut him down. You went ahead. I mean, you could have left that one door unlocked, mate. That would have been a bit of a kindness. But I mean, they'll know. The kinfolk will know.
Remember what Frar said. To be born free is an accident. To live free is a privilege. But to die free is a responsibility. I die free. And when morning comes, Nara's spirit has left Middle Earth and been gathered to the halls of Mahal the Maker. Not Nar, sorry, Noe. Nar, you're still alive. Stupid dwarves and their stupid dwarf names.
It's all right. It's like, yeah,
All right. What are you doing?
we need to get the heck out of here before this Draugr shows up again.
Yeah, the one we totally killed wrong.
Yes.
But we also, yeah. I put Noe's body across the back of my pony, I guess, and strap his axe to the side of the saddle.
All right.
Maybe give his axe to Kona.
Oh, good idea.
She takes it, kind of swings it through the air a couple of times, and she says, I do like the feel of a good axe in my hand.
So at this point, are we letting the weaker ones?
What's that?
At this point, are we letting the weaker ones ride and the stronger walk?
Uh,
I would say so.
yeah, just so we don't kill the horses.
Do you, does Angie gain more endurance? After
Resting for the night. Resting for the night, you gain your basic heart plus 2.
Okay. But he does gain more.
Yep. His basic heart plus 2.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next morning, as you're
Oh, that got-
gathering up Noi's body to take him home and kind of setting the camp in order, getting ready to travel for the day, Borlad, the ranger, stands a little apart from the rest of the camp and stares back over his shoulder in the direction of the teeth of the dragon. The Minas Morwen is no longer in view, perhaps obscured by dust or by some turn of the mountains. But he seems to be squinting, and after a moment he raises his hand to his head to shield his eyes. And he turns back towards you and he says, "We should be going. There is dust on the plain, and I do not think the sun shines brightly enough here to deter the maggot folk of the Minas Morwen. Perhaps
Go.
it is only a storm, but if it is, that is all the more reason to hurry."
Let's go.
All right.
Oh, let's get out of here.
If we're being followed, does that change what we're doing with the horses?
You tell me.
That I'm asking everybody else. Do we want to put a little more distance?
I mean,
If we walk them a little ways, then possibly we could jump on them to go faster later.
okay, how far are we from the Iron Hills and where things stop being so awful?
About 30 miles.
So-
30 miles straight south will take you to the upper marches.
So is that like a day?
It is 3 days at your current travel speed.
If we were all
3
mounted,
days.
how long would that be?
If you all had horses and the horses were not doubled up, it would take you a day.
Does
What about horses doubled up?
if we are
Horses doubled up is not
doubled up
really
on horses
it's not
or
really
like
that much it's not really that much faster because the waste is incredibly difficult to cross. It's very taxing for a beast of
Yeah.
burden.
okay, so the stronger ones will walk.
Yeah.
Can Randy listen? Are there any birds about? Can Randy listen to the chatter to see if there's any clue what is behind them?
Give me a riddle roll.
Nice. Son of a.
Another one.
Yeah.
It's already been triggered.
Can I get can I spend hope to at least make it?
Let's see here.
Yes.
You would just make it, yeah. Does anybody have a problem with expending fellowship, or do you want to spend?
I
Nope.
guess it's not that important to
Well,
spend
I don't know.
fellowship.
If it depends. If it's an entire army behind us, we might. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure if the birds would actually.
If there's
I think we're gonna. I don't think it would change what decision.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's move on and hurry.
Yeah.
All right.
let's
Um,
ride.
There are no birds overhead, but high on the air you can hear the fell cries of what sound like carrion birds, crows and vultures.
Ugh.
Perhaps waiting for a meal that they expect will come.
Okay, about what I expected to hear.
All right.
Let's get out of here.
Okay, so I need to ask, are you going to be attempting where are my rules for this? Hold on. I can't find the PDF. Are you going to be attempting to I just scattered papers all over my office. Here we go. Are you going to be attempting to outdistance or evade? In other words,
Those are two different rules.
right,
or
so
roll.
basically, if you decide to force the march and go as fast as you possibly can, each of you will need to make an athletics test for every day of the journey.
We're gonna
Ew.
try to evade, and Warsong's gonna do the hunting rolls.
If you want to evade, each hero will have to make a hunting test.
Is it? I thought it was just the one. One of them requires everybody to roll, and the other one, I believe, only requires one person to roll.
Each requires each hero to make a roll.
I am better with athletics. So is Rani.
No, I'm better with
Oh.
hunting. I have 3 in
I have,
So you can choose. So basically, you have a lead right now, which is, what is the highest wit in the party?
I guess 4.
6.
highest wit.
Yeah, probably 6. So you have a lead of 6 right now. Each success that you get will basically increase the lead by 1. Each failure will decrease the lead by 1.
Okay.
So basically, your goal, it's a prolonged test. If you get enough successes, you will lose them. If you have enough failures, they will catch up to you.
What's your athletics there, Warsong?
Warsong has a 2 in both athletics and hunting. However, with hunting, I can re-roll the feat die.
She has a 3 in hunting. I have a 1 in hunting. What do you got, PJ, in hunting?
I have a 1 in hunting. I have 0 in athletics.
Okay.
So we need to go with hunting.
So we probably need to go with evade.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, Angi's, well, I guess you get your plus 14, so you'll probably make most of them.
All right, Borlad is.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me. Whew. That was Randy that rolled that
If
eye.
he has
Oh, come on.
I roll an eye. I'm out of madness.
You're like hardcore bout of madness.
And there's no way we can prepare for that, is there?
All right, everybody, I'm about to explode.
No, there's no way you can prepare for it. You don't know it's coming. Angi seems normal, like even strangely competent.
All right, so we're hunting.
All right,
We're
everyone give me... Oh. Elstan's not so good at those. All right, everyone give me a hunting roll. So this will be for Borlad.
And can we cover for each other if we roll high?
Number of successes.
Yeah, it's just straight number of successes.
Yeah. No.
So does like having a great success or anything like that help?
Yes.
The TN is 14, right?
Yeah, baby.
Yes.
That was Ranny that just rolled like a boss,
Hey, so Ranny and Warsong.
like a Beorning, right?
All right, so Warsong got
So does,
2 successes.
2.
Got...
Son of a gun. There it is.
So 6,
yes, yes.
7, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6. So we're at 6 still.
Eyes count for 2 failures.
6, 5.
So you
What
should
about
be at...
Gandalf? They
Four.
So you should...
successes?
They do not. So you should be at 4.
Yeah.
I didn't write I didn't write these rules. All right, so you're currently at a lead of 4. So, as you travel over the next day, Borlad occasionally glances back, and you still can't see it, but with the keen eyes of the Dunedain, he can just glimpse whatever it is, the threat, which is now following hard upon your trail.
Would bold or shadow lore apply to that roll? checking
No,
off.
I don't think so.
Okay.
All right. Angi.
hey,
Pretty bold this whole time.
Angi. Yes.
Richard,
Yes, PJ.
could I use Mountaineer
No, you're not in the mountains.
for this? Okay.
So, two things. One is I'm gonna go ahead and need a travel roll for everyone for the first leg of the journey. It's gonna be one roll at a TN of 18 minus Ranny's things and stuff.
All right.
So 18 minus 2.
It's
What's
it's
Ranny's
it's
thing?
minus Ranny's wisdom, right?
Checking.
Yeah. So -3.
Cool.
So what is it at? 18, 15, 21?
15. 15
Okay.
is the tier.
So the target.
Nice.
Oh, come on.
All right. This is Angi's travel roll at TN. So TN 15.
So
Okay.
first of
I
all,
failed.
Nice. Okay.
okay, those of you who failed take 2 points of fatigue, and it looks like nobody rolled a hazard.
I haven't rolled yet.
Give me a split second here.
Okay.
Okay.
You can do it, Ranny.
Better these are my mini sandwiches. Oh,
Oof.
so bad.
You gave away the last of your honey cakes, but you didn't bring enough for like 11 people.
Yeah, seriously. All right, so everyone who failed, you add 2 fatigue. You didn't trigger any hazards. However, when the second night comes, Angi, you
They're on my shadow.
you lay kind of sleeping fitfully underneath the sky when suddenly you feel someone gently kind of pressing on your shoulder. As you awake, you see Kona is there. She kind of leads you about 100 yards outside of camp.
What?
She says, that rascal, that rapscallion, that traitor was going to make himself king. So that's why I took this. And you and I together, Angi. You and I together. We can reclaim the halls of our fathers.
So like, is he having like a fitful dream or what?
No.
Something like that.
Or is
I don't. As in the Bout of Madness, I can't really like say no, right?
I mean, her proposition seems pretty tempting to you.
That's right.
And it occurs to you that you know a place where that necklace could be put safely.
She's stolen.
Oh, why is it always with the horrible women? Stealing things. Okay. Assuming this is a bout of madness and my dragon sickness is kicked in,
Oh, so hard.
I
And that's
nod.
actually it's a double bout of madness, isn't it?
yeah. So I nod and I say, "Well, it's true. Noel's been away for a long time. He doesn't know how it is. He doesn't know what we need. He thinks he can just come back from all that and set himself up as king. He doesn't know we have the dwarf throne to retake. He doesn't know we have the Grey Delves, the family homes.
She kind of
He
leans.
just wants to come back and get himself a nice mind of his own. He does. He doesn't know
She
what it's like.
She kind of leans into you and strokes your beard, and she says,
Don't do that, please. I mean,
"Aye, you know what we need.
I
Come
do,
on.
but I don't need.
We don't need the rest of these."
They went with me into the
do
mall.
any of us realize this is happening?
Can we wake up?
No, you guys are sleeping.
This is yeah.
Can Sarah?
Like, there's nothing we could roll to see that if any of us.
You're asleep. You don't even know this is happening. If
Randy
we
has
were
volunteered to need to pee in the middle of the night.
if we were playing this around the table, I would just take Ben into another room and we would do this privately, and then I'd come out and be like, Angi is gone and you don't know why.
Well, but there would be watches. Is he the one on watch? Because there's no way that we would
I
be in the
assume
middle of
Conan was on watch. I mean,
Let's see here. Who is on the board? I will allow Borlad, as he is on watch, and as he is the lookout for your party. I will allow Borlad to make a roll of awareness.
I'm pretty sure I'm actually talking to Conan. He was a devious little twerp.
Oh, nice.
Okay. At this point, the rest of you guys are still asleep, just to be 100% clear.
All right.
Borlad appears out of the shadow, and he has his hand on the hilt of his sword, and he says, "What is passing here? What means this, Angi?"
Oh, Shade Man. Well, it's like this. Northern would like to take the Morven's treasure and use it for himself. Now, the way myself and the good dwarf Kona here, I think, is that really
He's definitely not a lady.
oh the dwarf my that's the worst, Richard. You don't want to do that. Well, and my kinsman here.
As you're fast talking him, Kona moves around behind him.
No. And I meet Kona's eye and I shake my head. See, and he wants to take it, and he wants to keep it for himself. Now, this thing is worth so much treasure you wouldn't even believe. You could buy, like I said, you could buy an old mine for this.
I
And,
know that no treasure is worth the trust of my friends.
I mean,
He kind of looks at you very hard for a moment, and he says, "Return the necklace, Angi."
I can't do that. This belongs to all the dwarves. This would be enough to outfit an entire army. We could take back the Grey Delves. We could fight the cold worms.
That may well be, but your people should know well enough by now that no treasure taken by force can prosper in the hand of the one who takes it.
But we didn't take it by force. We I mean, I didn't. Now, Shade Man, this is dwarf business, and I don't want to have to hurt you, and I don't want to have to. You've been a good mate to me, and
His eyes flare for a moment, and he draws his sword about 2 inches out of the scabbard, and he says, "I would also not desire that. Return the necklace, and perhaps you and your kinsmen can have this out when we return to Dale."
what about this crown that I've got on me belt here? What if we just traded him for it? It's a it's a small thing, but it could be his. And I mean, he's trying to go be a king. He could just pretend. This is the worst. Oh. Oh. I won't be arguing about your Shade Man. This is
So,
Angi, he takes a step forward to place a hand on your shoulder, sort of a fatherly motion. But as he does so, you flinch, and your axe comes up, And before you know what you're doing,
So I didn't even feel her take the necklace off of me.
nope.
And before you know what you're doing, what? You froze up.
Well, he misses.
Is he frozen?
I don't think so.
I don't think I'm frozen. Am I frozen?
No, I think it was the pause that suddenly got interrupted.
Unfortunately, that is enough to hit him. You bring your axe up, and it bites.
It is.
Oh yes, because he doesn't he wasn't expecting that. You bring your axe up, and it cuts deep into Borlad's side, and with a cry, he goes down on one knee, and as he does so,
Warsong's awake now. For the record.
and he stumbles forward with Kona's knife between his shoulder blades. And Kona, clutching the necklace in one hand, her other hand now bloody with the blood of Borlad, Dunedain of the North, says, "Now he'll never get between us. Quickly, we must go."
Is Borlad dead? Can I tell?
You can check him. Give me a healing roll.
Warsong is awake and coming over there now. If she
All right, it's about
didn't
100
grab-
yards.
Sigaroon certainly did.
Okay, it's about 100 yards. We'll get to you in a moment.
She's sprinting and she's got her weapon.
I assume my shadow is clear at this point.
Yes, you have.
Also,
What was your shadow? What was your shadow
14.
at 14? And what is your total hope? Your max
12.
hope. Okay, so
12.
you have 2 points of permanent shadow.
Points. Okay. Well, that's at least I guess I get a permanent boost of 2 to all my non-custom rolls. Yay!
Yay.
All right, 14.
Uh-huh.
What the heck? That was actually Angie that rolled that.
He seems dead.
Oh.
So
As this happens, you're running up Warsong. When you arrive,
yes. And I
when you
would've-
arrive, you see Angi standing over the body of Borlad with Nar's necklace in one hand and a bloody dagger in the other. And Borlad is
What
laying
is-
face first on the ground.
get away from him.
I don't know what happened. It was.
does
It seems very
none of
plain.
us wake up? Does none of us wake up from the
You
crushing
could
of the dog
you
or
probably
anything
start
like that?
waking up by now, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wake up and notice my necklace is missing.
Your necklace is missing.
And
Warsong
Yes, and I'm
Warsong
gonna-
called out.
okay, well I'm running.
You know a bit of leechcraft. Warsong, I mean, help him.
Drop
Rock comes up and puts pushes Angi back a little.
Okay. Would you say, Soph?
drop the weapons, Angi.
He drops the weapons. Is Kona around, or is she just rabbited?
Who?
Kona?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, nuts. Is she back at camp? Do I see?
There is no one here called Kona. It's just you and a bloody knife.
So, Warsong is tying him up and then checking on Borland.
Okay, give me a healing roll.
I wrote.
Does Leechcraft do anything?
Yeah, you can tell Borlad is in very bad shape. Bleeding out, but not dead.
I guess, could I use a song?
That's not going to help with the fact that he is bleeding out. This is what the healing skill is for.
Okay.
Song is useful, but it is not a magic bullet.
I will spend a point. Can I spend Company Hope?
I'm
Yes.
happy with that.
That makes it 19 and a great success. And Company Hope is down to 1.
Okay. You are able to, for the moment, staunch Borlad's bleeding. It will be the next 24 hours will probably be pretty crucial to whether or not he survives.
Okay.
Gonna be alright.
While she's doing that, I'm running up. I'll run up to where the three are at, and I'm like, "What is all this commotion?" And Angie, why do you have my necklace? Have you gone mad?
Quite possibly no, but perhaps we can discuss this at some other point, maybe.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
I mean, so in the context of the character's experience,
Mm-hmm.
is it a known fact that journeys and exposure to this bad magic and would cause this, or this is sort of-
That I will leave that up to you to decide. Like I would say it is up to your character to decide. Have the things that have happened to you collectively as a group been the kinds of things that you think could drive someone mad?
Okay.
Like that's
How long
really the question.
How long have I known Angie?
You knew
For this
Angie a
point.
long time before you were captured by the Morwen.
Okay, so we've been pretty close friends over the years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe
Okay.
not friends. Dwarven relationships are maybe a little bit different than that, but definitely, I mean, he's a kinsman. You're both from the dispossessed folk of the Grey Delve. You share the same kind of hopes and dreams of reclaiming the halls of your fathers.
Well, I walk up to him and put my necklace back on my neck and say, Angie, I've known you quite a while, so I don't know if it's just from the witchcraft of that place or not, but we will certainly discuss this later.
Angie glowers at him.
Let's see, it's Borlad that's currently
I can't hear you,
in
Sophie.
really bad
Did you say something, Soph?
Okay.
There you are. Nope, gone now.
I did.
It is Borlad, PJ.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
Borlad. At this point, Elstan comes up.
Well, I'll turn to Warsong and ask, "How's Borlad? He looks quite terrible indeed."
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how he'll be a day from now. He's breathing for now. He's got to get back to civilization quickly.
Well, we have no time
But
to
I will do
waste.
what I can.
We must get out of here.
All right. Someone else? Anyone else doing anything?
Randy is
You do know. I'll notice at this point that Kona is just completely gone.
yeah. He was sort of the lookout, so I think Randy is probably on high alert at the edge of things, looking around.
Okay. Give me a hunting
So
roll.
Kona is just gone.
Where'd it go?
Yes. Which you were good at.
What is the TN?
14.
Ah! That was not Angie, by the way. That was Randy.
Yep.
Is this my hope down? I'm gonna spend a point of hope on that.
Or do you want to spend a part of fellow party go?
I was thinking. There's only one
What are
left.
you doing on hope?
I think there's just one.
Okay.
So I'll spend a point of my own.
Okay.
Make that.
The curious thing you notice as you kind of sweep the perimeter of the camp, Kona is gone, but there don't seem to be any tracks.
No tracks.
No tracks
She
whatsoever.
was never there. That's why she was acting so weird.
Okay. Brandy discloses this to the party. Spells it out for everyone. Just in case. Which means our evasion, like we're not hidden at this point, right?
No.
Tudila swears under his breath. Says, "It is always the games with the Dark Lady. It is always the illusion within the illusion. This night we have been snared in her web. And some of us have reddened their hands in the blood of their comrades, as should not have been. We must fly from this place at once."
Ranny walks over to Angie and says, "Angie, Kona was an illusion. What can you tell us about her secret plans?"
I don't know. I don't know if it was her plans or if it was my plans and my thoughts that the lady was simply playing with. I didn't want to hurt Borlad. Me and him were mates. But on the other hand, that necklace, I don't know that it rightfully belongs to Narf. You know what I mean? Seems like, well, don't know that any of that matters right now.
Randy presses her lips together and stands up and says, "Yes, we must flee from this place as soon as possible."
For the next day of your journey.
For what it's worth.
Yes, go ahead.
I think that given what just happened, Ongi, since we don't have enough weapons to go around, is probably not armed.
That's fair. If you'd like, Elstan will keep guard over him.
Okay. And somebody who is capable of wielding the weapon should have it.
Well, actually,
don't
you
know,
have a
like-
spare axe now because Kona's not here.
Well, I guess it's lucky she didn't take it with her, huh?
Well, it's less about the spare like the number of weapons and more about the fact that 2 of his weapons were found inside a body of our companion in the middle of the night.
Well, when you put it that way. All right. For the second day of your flight southward, I am going to need hunting or athletics tests. What are we doing?
Hunting, right?
Hunting is TN 14, athletics is TN 12.
Ah,
If you just want to try to outrun them, you have a lead of 4 at this point. And you will not be getting any aid from Borlad.
Honestly, I think more of us actually have bonuses in athletics than we do in hunting. We roll
no,
regardless.
I think hunting was more. It was Borlad that didn't have much. And I think
No, it was Elstan doesn't have anything in hunting. He's got a 2 in athletics.
2 in athletics, 2 in athletics, 2 in athletics, and then I guess PJ's character doesn't have anything in athletics, but
No, but
Okay.
at the same time, I do have a 6 in body. So if I roll just right, I might be able to make it. Especially, you said TN 12?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, athletics test, please.
well,
Okay, so
It's
we're up
remember
to
it's TN 12, so we have 3 successes so far.
excellent.
3 successes. TN 12.
5, 6, 7. So we're at 7 now.
Ah, any?
Definitely a failure.
Do I get more healing back for during the night?
Yeah, every night you sleep, you regain your basic heart plus 2.
5.
If you
I'm gonna spend a. Can I spend a point of hope and get a success out of that?
you can.
All right, I will do that.
So that's 6. 7. That makes it
Yeah,
7.
you're at a lead of 7 so far, and then that is
8, 9.
yep. So that's 6. Yeah. Okay. The next day, you push as hard as you can southward, and you seem to, for the moment, have mostly outdistanced your pursuers. I will need one final athletics test from everybody as you clear the wasteland to attempt to outrun your pursuers.
Nice.
10.
12.
11.
12. Yep.
12.
All right.
The going must be getting easier here.
11. 12.
All right.
If only I had that extra dice.
The open countryside that extends from the eastern banks of the river running to the foothills of the Iron Hills is called the Upper Marches. These plains extend south for nearly 100 miles, bordered by the long marshes in the west, before eventually opening out into the wide steppe of the nether marches. They're officially lands claimed by the Kingdom of Dale, though Bard has not yet quite extended his rule over all of them. But these are lands that were inhabited by the Northmen of Ravani and the ancestors of the Northmen of the men of the Bardings, the men of the Beornings and the Woodmen and everyone, who have lived here for many thousands of years in the land between the two rivers. And this landscape is bucolic. It's there are little farmsteads and things of that nature here. These aren't safe lands per se. I mean, it's still border territory, and there's still orcs that raid down from the waste and from the Withered Heath far to the north. But by and large, it's certainly much more pleasant, and you only have the occasional fell wind on your right to remind you of the proximity of the waste. It will be 80 miles to the Lonely Mountain, but you have entered lands which are regularly patrolled now by the Outlanders of Dale, and the going is at least easier. So we're going to be 80 miles over easy terrain.
We've been a couple days now. How is Borlad?
Borlad is mending. His wound was, I mean, certainly grave, but not fatal, and he has within him the strength of the Dunedain, who do not easily grow weary or faint. It will take you 4 days to reach Dale from where you entered the upper marches from the waste. I will need 1 fatigue test from everybody at TN 16, -2 because of Rani, so TN 14.
TN14 travel.
Yes.
-3, I guess, actually, is what it is.
Oh, come. Oh.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, we were way neck deep in the hunt at this point.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can get.
The hunt threshold is much higher here than it was in the waste, though, so you're okay.
Nice. That was Randy that did that.
For the record, over the past several days, Rani has stuck close to Angie.
Okay.
But not in a suspicious way. She's been seen enough of this sort of thing happen on her extensive journeys, and she has a suspicion that it was not motivated out of evilness of character. And
So how
watching
much?
over him much in the same way that
No one
they would
worried.
watch over Berthagun.
How much endurance do I lose?
You don't lose endurance; you just gain 2 fatigue.
Can Angi is Borlad conscious or is he still?
Yeah, he's conscious now.
Okay. I assume he's probably riding.
Yeah.
Well then, can Angi sort of shuffles up next to him, and say, Shade Man, yeah. How's the side?
Well, better before someone put a dagger in it, but
And
Warsong
Yeah.
says I will live.
when you found me out there, did was I my lonesome? Meaning there, Kona wasn't there with me, was she?
It was only you I spoke with.
Oh, that's
Where is Kona?
I don't. I think we decided that Kona never actually was, as in at least not the real Kona. Maybe Kona, maybe the moment Miss killed her and took her shape, or was just playing with us. But even when she was gone, we never saw any sign that she left. Our best hunters, which I mean, maybe that's you, but we couldn't catch sign of her at all. And in my, did I, when you and I, when this happened, did I don't even know how I stabbed you in the back. I thought we were talking, and you put out a hand, and then it happened so fast, and then what happened?
I recall the axe first, and then as I fell, the knife. But
That does sound like me.
well, I wasn't going to say it, but
Well,
the greed of your people will be your undoing, Angi. Do
Okay,
not let it be your undoing, too.
I don't know how I can make it up to you, mate. I mean, when we get to Dale, I'll know there's the houses, the water houses, where the really good healers are.
We'll take you up
Yes.
there. We'll take you up there, and we'll get you the best you can get. All right? And, I'll stick by you until you're better. I mean, if you'll have me. I could see if you didn't want me, but
By the cunning of our enemy and the greed of our friends, the free folk of Middle-earth have been robbed of one sword against the shadow, at least for a while. I do not mean to increase this grief by continuing the feud. What you did in madness I can forgive. But see to it that a stronger passion does not overman you at last. Unless my foresight fails me,
Okie dokies.
there will come a day when you are tempted by greater treasure than what your kinsman now holds. And that day will be the test of Anki the Mad.
well, I hope on that day, or I can think back to myself and I'll say, Ongi, remember your shade man. They said this was coming, and then I'll know, and I'll think better of it.
I pray you do. And answered your question, Ben. I'm just pulling it up.
What horrifying new traits do I have?
You have, let's see here. Bouts of madness, bouts of madness, bouts of madness. Shadow weakness is 227.
Oh, so we can get 3 shadow weaknesses.
If you get
You have dragon sickness. You have grasping, which describes the desire to accumulate gold and precious items above all else just for the sake of possessing them. You also have
Okay.
mistrustful. When your prized possessions start to weigh you down and become a treasure to be guarded, even the good advice of friends appears to mask dubious intentions. Good advice like that which you have just received, for instance. So the way those work is that when you're in a situation and you're rolling, making a roll, and I think that perhaps grasping or mistrustful would apply to the roll, I can invoke them to make you roll the feat die again and take the lower result.
Right.
All right. At long last, greatly wearied from your journey, you arrive at the city of Dale with but one misadventure on your way. Well, not really a misadventure, but Rani, as you are gathering food for the party, about a day out from Dale, you come across a stone, a flat stone scored with runes, which are very much like the runes you are accustomed to seeing used among your own people, but you can't quite read them. They're in the language of the Bardings, which, although it's mutually intelligible, you can understand their speech. This way of writing is foreign to you. But when you bring it to Elstan, he looks at it and frowns, and he says, "These marks are used by the Outlanders of Dale, and by the God of the King. This points to danger away north at Njolsberg."
What does that mean?
It It means I should speak with Lord Vigrid at once, as soon as we arrive.
Given that I just showed up and saved our butts out at Jarlsberg.
Yeah.
All right. Arriving at the city of Dale, weary. Some of you permanently affected by the grasping hand of the shadow. We've reached the end of this adventuring phase. So, a couple of things. First of all, you have brought Lady Asfred back out of great peril to the city of Dale into safety, where she will, of course, be welcomed at the court of Bard until such a time as she is able to return home. Her illness has not passed. She has good days and she has bad days. And some days she is cheerful and full of life, and other days she falls into a deep, fevered dream from which nothing can rouse her until the fever runs its course. But she's, as a consequence, she spends most of her time in Dale in the keeping of the leeches of the Waterhouse. Other things you might want to do, you have returned with a large store of letters and scrolls, assuming you carried those out. You have also probably got news that you'd like to pass on to Lord Vigrid. So, does everyone have time to just do a couple of wrap-up things, and then maybe we'll start next session with the fellowship phase?
I think so.
That sounds fine. That sounds fine with me.
Okay. Wolfsong does need to talk to Trulia also.
Oh, okay. We'll do that. We'll do that next session because it's going to be a little
Okay.
more involved, and it's
'Cause I don't
getting up on
want us to
10:30.
skip. Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, it's been 6
Nope,
months.
nope. Yeah. We'll
Yeah, I feel the same way about this missing baby too. It's like
okay.
I don't.
Well, the fellowship phase doesn't have to be a year-end fellowship phase. Like, it can just be we're resting. Obviously, you're going to want to rest up in Dale after what you've just been through. So, if you've got any fatigue from travel, you can clear that now.
Yay!
So what would you guys have done? Would you have basically gone straight to report the outcome of your journey to Vigrid?
Yeah. Yeah, to Vigrid
Yes.
because there needs to be rest and healing, especially for the ones that are here with us.
Okay. When you arrive back at Dale, word is sent to Lord Vigrid at once, and you are beckoned to the hall. And when you arrive, Vigrid tells you, I can see by word that Elston is sent ahead, and by the sorry state you're all in, that you've been through, well, no stories yet. Eat, rest. This evening, tell me your tale. So that evening, you tell him your tale, and you pass along. I'm not narrating this to skip over. Like, if there's anything that you want to say, I want to make sure we told Vigrid this. Please speak up. But I'm just going to sort of assume you told him, here's everything that happened in the tower.
Okay.
About the only person I'd want to talk to would be Angie, but I
Okay.
assume we're waiting until next phase.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll start out with conversations, overdue conversations, next time.
Okay.
Okay. In talking about the Draugr,
Mm-hmm.
would he have heard? Would Vigrid know about the connection between the Draugr and I mean, Angi was obviously at both places, but Angi wasn't at like the Drogir.
He certainly knows about the
Drogir happened
Draugr.
before Angi joined.
He certainly
Right.
knows about the Draugr that that you guys found at the ruined tower. The other group found at the ruined tower. That Berard would have told him about. But he does not necessarily have a reason to connect the two, unless Angi kind of
Connects the two
helps
himself.
helps
Because
point
he
him in
did-
that direction.
The Drogir did make a comment
It's true.
about having seen him before, which he hadn't seen Angi before.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So
excuse
we
me.
know that there's the connection there. And we would also know that Mar knows about the Drogir.
So you catch Vigrid up, I assume, on the events of your journey and how it sped with you. And you pass over into his hands. The letters and books that you saved from the Morwin's Tower. And he gives those into the hands of King Bard's Lord Masters. And the next day, you are, after you've been rested, you've been feasted with all the hospitality.
Is Angi still like tied up and hanging?
No, I
outside?
I don't think he's been. In my head, he hasn't been tied up this whole time. Like they tied him up right after the bout of madness, but it's difficult to journey when you're actually tied up. So Borlad is basically in a hospital. He's in the Waterhouse, having his wound tended. If you want to stay with him during that time,
I was gonna say, I think Angi's gonna stay with him.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't have gone to all the
Okay.
parties.
So those of you who, specifically Ranny and Warsong and Nar, if you want to accompany them, you were called the next morning to kind of a late breakfast with Lord Vigrid. And PJ, you've met Vigrid before. Yeah, because as
Okay.
Berard. Vigrid is the...
Yes.
Yeah, so just for your... Vigrid is the captain of... He's King Bard's lieutenant and right-hand man. He's the captain of the Black Cloaks.
Yes.
He's a fairly, probably late middle-aged man at this point. Kind of has wolf gray hair and beard. A fairly regal bearing, but definitely, a few scars. He's seen warfare in his day. And he calls you all to a late breakfast. And he sits down, and after the meal is ended, he stands. Elstan is there as well. And he says, our scholars were most curious to learn where those papers came from. The ones you brought back. A lot of it we can't make heads or tails of, but there is pretty clearly a genealogy in there. One which traces the lineage of Keowina the Generous, the Lord of Sunstead, all the way back to Vidugavia, the first king of the Northmen. I have reason to believe, based on the reports of my other spies and servants, that this Morwen has been going to some pains to uncover the identity, the parentage, the ancestry of Lady Asford as well. Now with the child missing, it seems like it's not too hard to put two and two together. If Lady Asford is really descended from King Girion of Dale and Lord Caowina, truly has the blood of Vidugavia in him, then their son is as good or better a claimant to the throne of Dale. You'll understand the sensitivity of this information. I haven't even told Lady Asford yet. I don't know how I'm going to tell Lady Asford. A few other things of interest in those letters you brought back. One of my scholars insists is a spell of sorts. I don't know, formula. I don't really know what else to call it. This isn't really my area of expertise. For some kind of a wasting sickness. A sickness which binds a person to a particular place and wastes away slowly if they should ever leave it.
Is there any way that this spell can be undone?
According to the scroll, the only known cure of the spell is to speak the true name of the one who cast it, while writing that name in blood upon the breast of the sick person. But the blood used must either be of the blood of the enchanter, or one of their blood.
That's a nice match.
Now, this next bit is of particular interest given, and he holds up the, Angi, you remember you tore or cut the surcoat off the skeleton that you guys found in the tower?
Yep.
He holds that up and he says, "This is the white tree of Gondor." There's some lines of verse in here written, so the elven scholars tell us, in the noble tongue. The mode is apparently very archaic and difficult to follow at times, but the gist of it seems to recount the story of a noblewoman who was seduced by a prince of Gondor long ago. Story says that she bore him a son, but that the child was not legitimate, as she was already wed to one of his servants, and so the child was taken away from her when the prince returned to the kingdom in the south. The story tells how the woman went mad with grief and sealed her husband to die within his own tower. And the last bit is maybe the most disturbing of all, because we can't read it. But it is written, so I'm told, in the words of a black speech, and it is sealed with the seal of a red eye. I am to meet King Bard in council this evening to determine whether we should raise an army to march upon the tower of the Morwen. I would appreciate your presence at the council, if you'd be willing.
We will be there.
And that's where we're going to end for the night. So next time when we pick up, we'll begin with maybe Nar has some conversations he wants to have with Angi.
Yeah.
Warsong's got some folks she would like to talk to, so we'll do maybe a short fellowship phase in Dale, and cover those things, and then y'all can tell me where you want to go from there.
Okay.
All right. How much experience did we get?
You get 2 experience for tonight, 1 for the session and 1 for escaping from the Minas Morwen.
Woohoo! That's 11
Nice.
experience.
And can we use all this?
You will be able to spend it during the next fellowship phase, so which will be next session. So between now and then, we will send you links to some of the fellowship phase options, so you kind of know what's on the table.
What is athletics up under in skill groups?
It's under body. It's a common skill. It's a movement skill.
No. I made a regular success on
Yeah.
that when I
The
spent a point
should
of.
be the movement skill group.
Okay, will it be in the same line as whatever
Yeah.
it's in?
If you look,
So
if you look
athletics, it's
all the way to the right under movement, yeah, there you go. You got it.
okay.
All right. Did everyone have fun? Ben, are you okay?
Yes. That hurt though.
I'm sorry, but like originally I had something else in mind, and then they were like, "But somebody should be on watch." I was like, "Fine, who's on watch?" Oh, Borlad's on watch. Well,
My actual friend.
It sounded like he was going to be missing originally from me, right? That's what it
Was I
seemed
supposed to
it was
like
going
wander off by myself?
I had a
Like,
whole little side adventure planned for you that we were going to do between now and the next session, and we were going to see if you actually made it back to Dale alone. So, you know,
me and my 6 endurance points at that time.
all of these things would have sucked, but maybe this was the suckiest. I don't know, but it was kind of perfect. It was kind of perfect. So,
Yeah.
and you guys figured out about Kona probably sooner than you would have otherwise, and yeah. No, you were really close, Ben. Like
Well-
last week when you said, "Wait, don't dwarves marry for life?"
I was thinking,
remembered
going,
that.
Kona is a horrible, skanky dwarf.
Yeah, that's not normal dwarf behavior.
I thought of that, like, that's like Berthagoon, because I was thinking so badly of Berthagoon, and then it ends up that whoever it is not actually Berthagoon,
right.
because we found the real one.
So you guys have
We got XP for the fake one.
well, and you guys have a whole lot of leads to pull up to follow up on now. So this is
Yeah.
there's some major decisions to be made about where you want to go after this.
Yep.
Marching against the Morwen's tower might happen, but there's also the possibility of needing to go after the Morwen in a more direct fashion. There's also who knows what happening at Sunstead.
Right, that's sort of my thought.
There's also the Grey Delve, which you guys have taken an oath on the dead body of Noe to, at least 2 of you have to reclaim. So I will.
Warsong did not take that oath.
Yeah, I will let the group simmer. Well, if the party ends up splitting, I can accommodate. It will mean we never finish this campaign, but I don't care. So,
Okay, I'll bring Toad in to fill in.
because it just means I can inflict the worst bouts of madness on Ben for the next 6 years of his life. So,
Yeah, no, I feel like it's someone else's turn to have a horrible...
that is the first time that Ben has ever shirked from a bout of madness. Like I was messaging him, I was like, "You know what you have to do," and he was like, "No, I don't want to do that."
It was horrible. We're actual tears over here.
Oh, so good, so good. I'm so pleased you guys made it through the Minas Morwen. Like that's Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, good night, and have everyone have a good night's rest. And Ben, are you joining us Wednesday night for Emboria things?
I guess I might. I have to talk to peeps here. I actually, yeah.
All right, well, just holler at me.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's just a one shot I'm doing for JM.
All right, well,
So
that's just as I should do it. So I'll figure out a character, I guess, tomorrow.
okay, very good. Good night, everyone.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Richard.